It's now been more than 10 years since the release of Starcraft 2, and after countless hours spent enjoying that great game, I finally found the motivation to make a project on my own. A couple of weeks earlier, I watched a video on Giant Grant's game channel in which he successfully completed a deathless run of Wings of Liberty in hard difficulty. A video which I found particularly entertaining, which gave me a great concept to explore further. Why not try in Brutal? Is it possible at all? What were the main obstacles? Have I been stuck in an endless time loops of loading screen? Did it drive me crazy? Stay tuned to find out. First, let's set up some rules, which I so shamelessly copy-pasted from Giant Grant's game video. Rule number 1. My units aren't allowed to die before we cleanse Kerrigan of our infestation. Rule number 2. Imply that no ally unit must be left behind. Rule number 3. Scripted events and cinematic death do not matter. Rule number 4. Losing structures is okay. Rule number 5. Units who expire are considered killed in action. The only difference in between my rules and GGG's rule is that I do not consider the auto turret as a unit, as I consider structures and unit to be mutually exclusive. In Liberation Day, you are given a small group of Marines as well as Jim Reno, an elite Marine with 6 of range instead of the usual 5. That 1 point of extra range allows you to hit and run all the small groups of Marines without losing health point on any unit. This is a time-consuming process, but the health points are necessary later on in the mission. In the middle of the map, you hit the first real fight in which you have to utilize all your units. What you want to do is to have the Marines tank the shot and simply pull them back when they get low. Only 1 Marine coming from the drop pods has to be moved in order for all of them to stay alive. In the last part of the mission, you have to use Reno as a tank in front of all your units so that you can maximize your DPS without losing anyone. Having Reno walk in front is necessary in order to save all civilians, otherwise some will die. After that, you destroy the Dominion's command center and save the day. The Outlaw is the first mission in which you can create units. You're also given a new unit, the Medic. The objective is to destroy a Dominion's base further up the world. There is an allied camp of rebel, but there is no rush. It can pretty much defend itself endlessly. When you reach the rebels' camp, they will join your forces. However, in order to reach Dominion's base, you have to destroy a bunker with 6 marines, which is a problem because every time it gets below 355 HP, it is repaired. I tried countless times to destroy that bunker unsuccessfully. I then sat back and relaxed, trying to come up with a new strategy, and that's when I realized that the enemy attack waves are attracted by building, which I can use to my advantage. Knowing that there is a 200 population limit, I simply had to wait a while. Not knowing what to do, I resorted to use my elite paratroopers, which I had kept in reserve until now. Unfortunately, the enemy was ready and the damage was minimal. Once there were no more units behind the bunker, I flew in a command center and a barrack in order to block the SCV route to the bunker, and slowly grinded down the HP until it finally burst into flame. The bunker was finally taken down. All that remained to do was to lure the enemy units which were stacked in a corner of the Dominion space using lifted buildings. A slow process, but the enemy force was way too massive to engage in a single combat. Once all enemy marines were killed, I used my special force once again in order to take down the enemy's artillery. Victory at last. 0 Hour is a siege mission in which you have to hold 20 minutes for the Hyperion to pick you up. The easiest way to defend is to give up the low ground and focus on the second round. You can also kill some of the neutral structures to build additional bunkers at key location. There are 3 isolated allied groups that require assistance. They aren't difficult to save. This is made even easier because most of the enemies have to unburrow. Once all the groups are saved, you can take all your units behind the bunker wall. For the rest of the mission, you don't really have to do anything anymore, as most of the units don't even manage to attack the bunker once before they are killed. At the 20-minute mark, the Hyperion comes in and saves the day. I still remember the first time I saw that cinematic, how amazed I was. That's what a battlecruiser should look like. The mission number 4, Evacuation Day, is a classic escort mission, in which you can either go for static bunker defenses, follow the convoy with your army, or a mix of both. This is also the first mission in which you can unlock research points. Before the first escort, you can already take the first research points. The fight is slow, but your medics should keep your units alive as long as you're careful. The second one is unlocked as you follow the first convoy. Straight after the first convoy, head up for the third DNA sample, so that you can focus on the main task. The rest of the mission is pretty uneventful. You build up a couple of bunkers and amass a big number of marines, and follow the convoy. Keeping up some SCV and auto repair along the road makes it easier to withstand attack waves. There will be a lot of niduses, but luckily they only drop a few units. All in all, a fairly easy mission. The Outbreak is a day-night cycle mission. During the night you are attacked by relentless waves of infested terrains, and during the day you can clear up enemy buildings. In order to defend my base, I first opted for 2 bunkers at each entry point, with SCV to repair and L1 for area of effect damage. However, as you can see, that wasn't good enough to reliably hold later on. After the first night, I just salvaged the bunkers and created a wider front in order to increase the DPS. When ready, every bunker will have 1 flamethrower and 4 marines. I also recruited mercenaries as often as possible. I voluntarily kept some space at the southwest entrance to allow units to move freely in and out of the base to attack enemy structures. During the day there is nearly no resistance. You can fully destroy enemy structures and then move back to the base for the night and repeat the process. There is a secondary objective that required to kill 2 infestors. The first one was killed when my army retreated from a day of slaughtering infested, and the second one was killed once there was just 1 enemy building left. I didn't kill the last building during the night, because from time to time it's fun to poke the hornet's nest. In the Devil's Playground you have to collect 8,000 mineral in order to complete the mission. However, in order to win you have to spend some part of your income to create an army. From time to time the lower grounds are flooded with lava, forcing you to pause the mining operation. Two minutes into the mission, tossing you some reaper. When combined with some medics to heal them, you can use them to save the previous expedition. Not far from there you will find another group of Reapers that must be saved. Because they can jump on cliff, Reapers are useful to access otherwise unattainable resource pickup, which are numerous on the map. To defend my base from attack on both sides, I put 4 bunkers right next to my command center, so that all of them could fire when the base is under attack from either side. In order to complete the mission, clearing up enemy bases is useful, as numerous resource pickup are made accessible when you destroy an archery. And as all Tosh Reapers must be found, you can't just sit back and wait. When a fight seems too hard to take, just build a bunker and bait the enemy defender to attack it. After destroying 2 more archeries, I nearly reached the 8,000 mark. I then moved toward the Brutalisk in order to unlock the additional research point. The easiest way to kill him is to put a command center in between you and him, and the Brutalisk doesn't seem to mind, as it doesn't even attack once. Smash and Grab is a race in between you and Kerrigan. Both of you are fighting the Tal'Darim to get to the artifact first. It's useless to try to attack the Zerg, because even if you kill all their building, they keep respawning endlessly. Believe me, I tried. There is a bonus objective that required to get all the relics, and in order to get the first one, I decided to lift the CC and flew it over. Once this is done, you can resume the mining operation. When moving east, always keep some units to defend against the Zerg attack waves. When moving over the bridge, 2 mergers are enough, because if you move with too many units, they will get stormed. A buyable of Marines, Marauder and Medics is all that's needed to kill the enemies. In order to make the fight easier, a flying barrack provides high ground vision. Poke and bait a few units at a time until there is nothing left but static defense. In order to collect the third relic, I use an SCV dropped by a command center, and the last relic is hidden in the end of a choke point inside the Protoss base. When you reach the artifact, the stones allow to wake themselves for a last stand. However, it's far too late for them, as my fortress is already in place. Welcome to the Jungle is a mission in which you have to collect 7 barrels of terrorism. The Protoss, however, are trying to seal the gas access point. What I first did is to clear as much of the map as possible, using a mixture of Marines, Marauder, Medics and a couple of Goliath. Built a couple of bunkers and a planetary fortress at home in case any attack wave reach my base. However, at some point, I stumbled on a Protoss attack wave that proved to be problematic.
Colonel O'Neill is correct. Events do appear to be repeating themselves.
After a couple of tries, I realized that I could avoid a Protoss attack with my army and simply let them crash on my planetary fortress. The fights weren't easy and I had to reload more than a couple of times, but with some perseverance I managed to collect the necessary gas. I picked up the last relic and then finished the mission with the gas I had already stored next to my command center. In the dig you are finally given the siege tank, a powerful long-range artillery unit which will be very useful when defending my base in a large part of the subsequent missions. To win this mission, you have to defend a giant laser drill until it has broken into the artifact's vault. A couple of well-placed bunkers and a massive siege tank is the way to go. The laser drill can also be used to take down most of the threatening enemy units. You shouldn't be scared to use the drill because it doesn't matter if you delay the end of the mission because the difficulty doesn't increase too much over time. The most difficult parts are the 3 airs attack wave, which is why I built a ton of turrets. The drill is used to kill the void rays and the carrier as soon as possible. There are also 3 relics which can be obtained by attacking structure with the giant laser drill and then picked up, 2 of them on the right of the base and the last one on the left. If used correctly, the laser drill can kill the enemy's capital ship in a matter of seconds. By the end of the mission, everything gets cut to pieces, regardless of the size of the attack wave. Whispers of Doom is the first of a series of Protoss missions which allow you to gain extra research points, making the rest of the campaign easier. During that first Protoss mission, you are playing Zeratul and following a path linking 3 Xenlaga Temple. After a while, you are given a couple of Stalker to fight against air units. There are 3 hatcheries that can be killed in order to gain Zerg research. 1, 2, 3. In the last section of the mission, you are fleeing the swarm. As long as the blinks are properly executed, all your stalkers should stay alive. Bubbling the last spine crawler is also recommended. A Sinister Turn is a mission in which you are confronted for the first time to an hybrid. In order to unlock the Immortal, which is very effective against the Hybrid, take a probe and go power up the robotic facility. It comes every couple of minutes, every time slightly stronger. Killing the hybrid takes a lot of time, especially the first time as you don't have many units, but by switching the aggro in between your units, it's fairly easy to kill him. In order to win, you have to free 3 preservers who are trapped behind enemy line. It is not possible to attack the base straight on. You have to lure as many defenders as possible and then attack. As the defending units are constantly rebuilt, you have to attack immediately after killing a maximum of isolated units. The fight is tough and long, and there is quite a bit of luck involved, but after a few tries, I finally managed to do it. In Echoes of the Future, 02 has to reach the Overmind's fort and drill. However, most of them are well guarded and require some fighting to be accessed. Periodically, there will be Zerg attack on the base. However, photon cannons and colossus can deal with those without too much problem. The first Tundrill is right next to the starting base and is very easy to access. There are also 2 obelisks that can be powered on for research points. The second Tundrill can be accessed easily if you use an observer to give vision and then blink and walk straight to the Tundrill. The attack wave size increases with time, but so does your army. Having photon cannon tanking makes the defense much easier. Once I had reached the 2 first Tundrills, I moved out with everything I had and carved my way through the Zerg bases. Blink can be used to save the low health Stalker and Archon put in front to tank. After reaching the 3rd Tundrill, all that remained to do was to walk up the ramp and blink, et voila. Ghost of a Chance is a 3-part mission in which you control Nova alongside with a couple of Rhino's guy. Nova is always cloaked and can pretty much kill anything or anyone through the whole mission. Once again I had to test my patience by destroying a bunker with Marines and Medic. However, this one only had 4 Marines and no ACV for repairs. Much easier. Nova then proceeded to casually kill 2 battlecruisers with her C-20A rifle. Must be a pretty badass rifle if she's to take down 2 battlecruisers on her own. The second part of the mission, you get a couple of Reapers, Siege Tank and a Raven. You can use the Raven to clear the way with auto turrets. Nova then casually hack her way into the nuclear storage. And then use the said nuke to eliminate the second objective. In the last part of the mission, you are given a couple of Banshees as well as some Vikings. Use the Banshee to kill the 4 Marines around the tank, then take the tank and use the tank to clear a way for Nova. Then once again, Nova takes control of a nuclear bomb in a blink of an eye. A bit later, I use her to control a neutralist which are led straight into a big mass of Marines. The Marines stood no chance. Nova then proceeded to do what she does best, nuking everything to oblivion. In Avon's Fall, you have to defend against an endless stream of infested terrain, and destroy, no, purify the infestation on your map. You are also given a new unit, the Viking, which won't be of any use in this mission, or in the rest of the campaign, to be honest. For the defensive part, I built a couple of bunkers, auto turrets, and some siege tank. For the offensive part, you can use ghosts. The enemy detection capabilities are extremely low. With more or less 20 ghosts, you should be able to take down everything that stands in your way. As they are cloaked permanently, most of the time they can freely attack without fear of retaliation. Ghosts deal bonus damage to a light unit, which is perfect for that mission, as nearly every enemy unit is considered as light. When the enemy concentration of unit is too high, simply nuke it, and if necessary, nuke it again. In the Great Train Robbery, you destroy trains. Around the map you can find numerous mineral and gas deposits, as well as a couple of diamonds packs, which are very useful in early game. There is also an objective that requires to find 3 Zerg samples, which are fairly easily found. When you kill the trains, they give up some resources, which is very helpful as the 2 mineral fields on the map are quickly depleted. As soon as you clean the expansion spot, build a second base in order to increase your income. The technique I opted for is mass siege tanks, some Goliath and auto turrets. The 2 Marauder groups are no match against such firepower. Gradually the mission becomes easier, as the number of tanks rise until the enemy is obliterated before even attacking once. Cutthroat is the 16th mission of my run, and once again the first objective is to reach a set amount of mineral. The amount of mineral in the initial base is rather low, so in order to reach the 6000 necessary, you can move around the map and collect mineral depot. The enemy forces are everywhere but stretch very thin. In order to disrupt All-In's mining, I used a couple of ghosts that I separated in different strike teams. Once his 3 easily accessible command centers were destroyed, I focused on reaching the 6000 minerals. This map is the only one in the game in which you can have a limitless amount of mineral, by either killing the little drones floating in the air or by collecting the mineral that is periodically produced by the 4 giant recyclers. In order to get as much mineral as possible, I made my ghost patrol in front of the recycler. To destroy All-In's planetary fortress, which is the final objective of the mission, I crafted a couple of nukes and flew a barrack to give me vision on the high ground. I then launched all my nukes as close as possible to the target. In the Moebius Factor, you have to destroy 3 data cores before they are reached by Kerrigan. As the different sections of the map aren't accessible by land, you are given a new unit, the Medevac, which allows you to move around the map. The Medevacs are very useful because they can pick up low health units, making the challenge easier. I opted for a mass marine Medevac tank for an overwhelming amount of firepower. The first data core is easily destroyed with a couple of units. The second one is slightly more defended, but with some siege tanks in artillery mode the job is done rather fast. All I had to do is to push forward with the bio while staying in range of my siege tank. Once I felt confident that I had the numbers, I then moved on the small Brutalisk island and took the high ground.
Brutalisk.
I have the high ground!
The final data core is destroyed by making a frontal assault. It's easier to take it down slowly, as the enemy will spawn at certain health threshold. Once the third data core is destroyed, the mission is over. Supernova offers a unique challenge. With a constantly moving firewall from the west to the east of the map, you have to stay on the move at all times. We also unlock a new unit, the Banshee, which will be very useful. Once again, we have to reach an artifact that is well guarded by the Tal'Darim fanatics. The Protoss counterattacks are for the most part insignificant and can be dealt with a couple of Banshees. I waited to have 8 Banshees to attack the Protoss second base. As new units are constantly produced to compensate for the killed, targeting the pylons is the way to go. Then you can move with the rest of your army and clean the base. Once the firewall approached, I put all my units in medevacs and lifted my buildings so that I could focus on slowly getting the last relics and battling my way to the artifact. As my buildings and SCV were floating in a corner of the map, I could fully focus on microing my small army. With the help of the healing provided by the science vessel, I managed to slowly make my way to the artifact. The battlecruiser is unlocked in Maw of the Void. This air unit with both a large health pool and a high DPS is perfect for this challenge. With 10 times more HP than the Marines and 2 base armor, it's a very durable unit. The attack waves on your base are very weak and do not substantially increase in difficulty over time. The map is covered with Rip Field, we will slowly damage every unit inside it. In order to progress toward the objective, you have to destroy them one by one. In between each field generator, simply go back to your base and repair your battlecruiser with your SCV. There are also Protoss prisoners that have to be rescued. Once I had enough battlecruiser, I went straight for the vault and blasted it open with a salvo of Yamato. In Engine of Destruction, Tychus is leading a strike team into a top secret Dominion weapon research center. After breaking in and killing a few guards, Tychus takes control of the Odin. However, his radio is broken, which means that he goes on a rampage and that we have to protect him. The Odin has no problem breaking into the first base. He did a lot of damage and killed multiple enemies at a time. However, the first couple of playthroughs I tried to let him go for the second base, but every time I either lost a unit or the Odin itself, which meant that I had to come with an idea on how to manipulate the Odin's AI in order to control its movement. The answer was simple: nuke. In order to prevent the Odin from moving forward, an endless chain of nukes is necessary. Those nukes serve a double purpose. On the one hand, they prevent him from moving forward, and on the other, to kill enemy attack on the Odin. Once I had enough ghost and nuke, I moved forward and nuked everything in my path. The third base was pretty much the exact same thing, except that the number of ghosts and nukes are constantly increasing, making the mission progressively easier. Even battlecruisers were killed pretty much before they could attack the Odin. The last base crumbled under the weight of my nuclear arsenal, to the point that most enemies didn't even make it into the screen. In the beginning of Media Blitz, you are given the control of the Odin, and 4 minutes to do as much damage as possible. The enemy forces don't attack you unless you attack them, because they still aren't aware that the Odin has been compromised. First I went for the factory base and destroyed the 4 factories. Then I moved to the spaceport and destroyed the 4 spaceports. The placement of the Odin is very important, because if you try to destroy them from the wrong spot, you will aggro too many units to deal with. After the 4 minutes of rampage, you are given a base and a new unit, the Thor, which I won't use at all. I focused on making as many battlecruisers as I could. With the Odin, I went to clean the 2 expansion and the last remaining operational Dominion base. After that, I unlocked the secret mission with the Odin by destroying the research center. In order to win the mission, you have to control every broadcast tower for a couple of seconds, which I did without problems thanks to my massive amount of battlecruiser. At this point, nothing could stop the Death Fleet, I just had to wait for the transfer. Piercing the Shroud is the secret mission of Starcraft 2, during which you break into a secret Dominion research outpost. You are given 5 marines, 2 medics and Jim Reno. In the first room of the station, you come across a terminal. I choose the right side turrets because the marines are more of a threat than the flamethrowers. You then have access to another terminal, in which I choose to unleash 70 Zerglings. If you time your approach correctly, next to nothing remains of either of the 2 groups, and you can easily finish them off. There is also a hidden relics in the containment structure. Farther ahead, you are given the option to choose in between 3 different robots to help you clean the hangar. However, it's a time unit and it will die, so I can't use it. After cleaning the hangar, I choose to be reinforced by 3 marauders. The next room, I unleashed the Brutalisk and killed him with Jim Reno. Reno and the Brutalisk have the same movement speed, however the Brutalisk attack speed is extremely slow, meaning that you can kite for as long as you want without taking damage if you do it correctly. In the next room I destroyed the field generator, which cut the power to the hybrid containment device. The hybrid is then freed. It will kill anything that is on its way, meaning that for the rest of the mission I will have to run with as little stopping as possible, as the hybrid cannot be killed. At some point you come across a section filled with Zerglings. If you do not kill them fast enough, they'll give birth to cute little baby Ultralisk. Once the creep zone is passed, the hybrid will reappear behind you, meaning that you have to run for the transport. The Gates of Hell is the first mission of the final act on Char, the Zerg stronghold. Your base is centered in the middle of the map with 2 openings, one west and one east. In order to defend your base, a few siege tanks and bunkers are all that is necessary. Periodically, drop pod will land around you. No man left behind means that I have to save all of them. The first one is easily saved with your starting force. In order to reach the other pods, I quickly started to train Ghost, as there is nearly no detection on the map. The second drop is easily saved with a couple of Ghosts. With a couple of snipe, enemy defending the pods are easily overwhelmed. At some point I had difficulties saving all of the members of a drop pod, so I launched a nuke on the spot I had a feeling the enemy would spawn. Once that was done, the fight went well. Later in the mission, drop pods appeared 2 by 2, but by sending one Ghost to nuke one army and the rest of the Ghosts to free the other unit drop, the two groups can easily be saved. The last 2 drops are also saved using a nuclear strike. Once every unit had been saved and the base mined out, I built a couple of Ghost Academy and mass-produced nuke. I then cleared the path through the enemy lines using a mix of battle cruisers and Ghosts. Once the high ground had been cleared, I nuked the 2 first Nidus. I then moved 7 Ghosts on Warfield's position and nuked the hell out of the last Nidus, and victory was mine. Shatter the Sky is the mission in which you disable the Zerg air units for the final battle. To do so, 4 coolant towers which stabilize the orbit of the giant Zerg aircraft carrier must be destroyed. From the beginning I started to build bunkers at the 2 entrances of the base and moved out with 2 Banshees and a battle cruiser to clean the expansion spot. Once I had 4 battle cruisers, I destroyed the central coolant tower. Once that was done, I took the 2 sideway base and built a lot of defense in order to delay the attack waves as much as possible in case I wouldn't be in position to intercept them.
The TPM is through the fucking roof right now. Wow, he's putting a turret ring on it right now. Oh my god.
The second platform I attacked was the northwest one because it only has sparse anti-air defense. The Leviathan, a giant monster, then spawned. I gave the order to all my BC to use the Yamato and vaporize the contender. Shortly after I moved to the third platform, but by now I had so many battle cruisers that nothing could ever stop this force. In only a few seconds, every unit and building in the way was dead. I then moved to the last platform. I completely ignored the defenders and went straight for the coolant tower and Yamato it. All-In is the last mission of Wings of Liberty. In order to win, you have to hold until the artifact is fully charged. The first thing you want to do is to pull back all your outlying units and to start building respectively 3 command centers on the wider west front, which require to destroy the fusion core, and 2 command centers on the smaller north side. Getting the attack upgrades as soon as possible is necessary. The defense upgrades are optional. During the mission, your barracks and factory must always be producing Ghost and Tank. When the Dusk Wings are available, you should recruit them as well, as they will be used to kill the Nidus wall. By the time the first attack waves arrive at 2 minutes, the wall should be nearly finished. Some turrets and bunkers around the back of the base are needed to protect against the infested terrain that will be dropped by the Overlord later on in the mission. In order to freely move in and out of my base, I kept one small gap in my planetary fortress wall that I closed with a supply depot, which allow my Ghosts to get out when they have to face Kerrigan. Your starting Marines and Marauders are very vulnerable and should be put in bunkers either in the back of the base or in reinforcement of the 2 fronts. At around 20%, the Nidus swarms start to spawn frequently. I use the Banshees to destroy them. In the early part of the mission, this isn't a problem because there is no detection on the map. At around 30% of the artifact's charge, Kerrigan comes for the first time. In order to kill her, I use the Ghost Snipe ability. Kerrigan has an ability that allows her to one-shot large mechanical units, which is why every time she comes you have to pull back your tanks on the side where she is. It takes a couple of seconds to kill her, but with enough SCV repairing she is easily killed. At 47% she comes once again and is easily repelled. I also come with a way to check whether or not I lost some ECB by binding them into control group, respectively 5 for the artifact section, 5 for the northern front and 5 for the western front. At around 50% of the artifact's charge, the high ground must be fortified, with multiple planetary fortresses as well as depots to block access to the enemy units. Auto turrets can also be useful in order to deny the Zerg high ground vision. At 63%, Kerrigan came again, but this time she has a new ability, Razor Swarm, which is a larger version of the High Templar Psionic Storm. As soon as she comes into range of 3 targets, she will cast her spell. In this case, 1 planetary fortress and 2 depots. While she was distracted, I used the ghost to snipe her until she retreated. I always made sure to have the artifact ready to be used right before she comes to attack, in order to be able to focus on her. Even with a large number of ghosts, it takes a long time to get her. By the end of the mission, the Nidus spawn rate skyrockets. In order to kill them fast enough to prevent too many enemy units from spawning, I had to know in advance exactly where they were going to spawn. The last 10% of the mission are very tense. I tried to hold as long as possible without using the artifact, knowing that Kerrigan was to come one last time. Once the situation was untenable and that Kerrigan finally spawned, I used the artifact one last time. In order to win, I just had to pull back the tank and kill her one last time, which was surprisingly easy. Yes, the Nidus Swarm was spawning non-stop, but my Banshees and Ghosts were ready. I just had to play it safe. The artifact still had plenty of health points. There was really no rush. Then she was distracted by the planetary fortress. I started to snipe her from the high ground. She used Razor Swarm, forcing me to pull back for a couple of seconds. But once the swarm was over, I moved forward to finish the job. Well, I may have slightly exaggerated when I said that this last part was easy, but I don't remember having that much difficulty on that mission. That's the one. I remember clearly reaching 100% that time.
This is fine. I'm okay with the events that are unfolding currently. That's okay. Things are gonna be okay.
When finally the answer came to me. In order to win, I just had to pull back all my units to my mineral line. Only the Banshees and Ghosts would stay to defend by staying as safe as possible. All the previous time I had always tried to fight Kerrigan, but if she aggroes the planetary fortress, I don't really have to fight her until the very end. By doing so, I managed to keep all my units alive. "25 missions and 16,258 kills later, I finally finished Wings of Liberty in Brutal without any casualty. The difficulty of this challenge varies a lot from mission to mission, but I can say without a doubt that I found the Outlaw to be the most difficult mission of this challenge, including the other campaigns. I seriously doubt that killing that bunker without losing units was even possible. But once the bunker of death was eliminated, I knew that nothing could stop me. All-In required a certain degree of preparation, but as this is a late game mission, you have a lot of different options you can play with and optimize. Engine of Destruction was only problematic because the All-In kept attacking before I was ready. But as soon as I found that I could control his movement by nuking in front of him, the mission became much easier. I hope you find this video entertaining. If you are interested in this challenge, I link you here 3 playlists, one for each of the campaign. Those videos aren't edited and are just pure gameplay without commentary. As this is the first time I've ever done a YouTube video, I wouldn't mind some honest feedback. In any case, thank you for watching. Swiss Knife out.